Good morning. Good morning. I'm Kathleen Miller-Prunty, and I am lucky enough to be the mayor here in Cranford and to welcome you here this morning for a very exciting day. I want to take a minute to introduce some of my colleagues from Cranford. We have I don't know where they are, but Deputy Mayor Jason Garris, Commissioner Brian Andrews, Commissioner Gina Black, Commissioner Mary O'Connor, and our friends in Union County, Chair of the Union County Board of Commissioners, Rebecca Williams, Commissioners Betty Jane Kowalski, Angela Garrettson, and James Baker. Welcome. So, Governor, you visited us about 10 months ago, at a time many of our residents were traumatized by Ida. And you walked the neighborhoods with us, and you talked to folks as they were dragging their belongings, their life's belongings, to the curb. And you spent time listening to them. And it was very appreciated, and I want to repeat again my appreciation. But today is exciting, very exciting, and we are thrilled to have you here in Cranford and all of the folks from state government, from your cabinet, who worked so hard on a budget for the folks in New Jersey and for those of us here in Cranford. So welcome again, and without further ado, I am privileged to introduce to you the Governor of the state of New Jersey, Phil Murphy.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. It is, I just said to Kathleen, it is so good to be back for a good, uplifting reason. So thank you for your very gracious words, for your leadership. I also, Kathleen and I were on the phone yesterday because I don't want to get ahead of myself. Among other things in this budget is $1.8 million for flood mitigation efforts for right here in Cranford. So I'm not here alone. It takes a village to get to the point we are at today. And I want to just say that the leaders alongside me today, and so many in this room who share our commitment to a state which doesn't just speak of meeting the needs of its residents, but which backs up those words with action and investment. And high on that list are our state's treasurer, Liz Moyo. Liz, thank you for everything you do. We're going to hear from Liz in a bit. Senate President Nick Scuteri. Nick, well done. Speaker of the General Assembly, Craig Coughlin. Our respective budget chairs, Senator Paul Sarlo and Assemblywoman Ileana Pintor-Marin. I also want to acknowledge by acclamation, I think that's the word, all of the electeds you mentioned. I think we lost Kim Palmieri-Mudet. Where's Kim? I don't see her. She couldn't make it. And I want to also acknowledge Senate Majority Leader Teresa Ruiz, Senator. And Assemblywoman and Chair Brittany Timberlake is in the House. And all the distinguished folks here today, including a lot of labor representatives. Yeah, labor's in the House. Activists, advocates, and other very special people. So almost 4 months ago, when I provided my proposed budget to the legislature, I asked them to join with me and with my administration in common cause to make New Jersey more affordable for our middle class and working families and for our seniors. I asked them to join us to deliver record levels of property tax relief, to maintain our record levels of support for our schools, and to focus on the costs of childcare, which hold back many of our working families. I asked them as well to continue our progress in tackling the long-term and systemic fiscal issues which have plagued our state for decades, if not longer, and to continue the hard work of putting our financial house in order for future generations of New Jerseyans. I asked them to help us make New Jersey the true state of opportunity. On each of these items and more, they responded, and today we are collectively delivering. I am proud of the partnership that we have enjoyed and the progress we have made. And today I am proud to sign the budget for the state of New Jersey. The priorities of this budget are the priorities of our families. And at the top of that list right now is affordability. Moreover, we are tackling the number one issue, which our middle-class families and seniors have told us again and again that mounts the greatest challenge to living in New Jersey, and that is property taxes. Through the $2 billion, that's billion with a B, dollar investment this budget is making in the Anchor Direct Property Tax Relief Program, more than 2 million New Jersey households, in which, by the way, many millions more of our residents live. My colleagues and I think it's somewhere between 5.5 and 5.7 million residents out of the total 9.3 million who call this state their home. Those households will get money right back into their pockets, money that right now they need. We've mentioned this many times before, but allow me to say it again. How much money? $1,500 to nearly 900,000 homeowners with incomes up to $150,000. $1,000 to nearly 300,000 homeowners above that up until $250,000. And for the first time ever, relief for renters. $450 to roughly 900,000 renters statewide. And again, that's folks with incomes up to $150,000. This is real. It is substantive property tax relief that will effectively cut property taxes by 16% for the average homeowner, and possibly even more, by the way, for others, and undo years of property tax increases for all. This will roll the clock back to about 2011 levels. That has never, ever, ever happened in this state before. It is historic. It is historic and direct property tax relief. And it comes alongside our continued record-setting investments in our best-in-the-nation system of public education and our continued laying of the foundation for universal pre-K through new investments in facilities, partnerships with private providers, and expansion of existing programs. And with nearly $2 billion, this is a separate $2 billion, supporting school construction and renovation, we are setting up our kids, amen, shamelessly fishing for applause. We are setting up our kids for success while putting forward one of the strongest pushbacks against property taxes in memory, if not ever. Remember that every dollar of new state aid for our school communities is a dollar that can be kept in the pockets of property taxpayers. And for many of our working families, property taxes are just one barrier to affordability. Another is child care. This budget maintains the state's refundable child care tax credit, which together with the legislature, we have made permanent for all families making up to $150,000. And it creates a new refundable child tax credit for anyone with children under the age of 6 who makes up to $80,000 a year. This budget also makes a significant investment to combat food insecurity, building upon the many efforts we have all taken together across the past 4+ years to ensure that every family has the ability to get healthy food on their tables. This is a passion project, especially. It's of Nick's and mine for sure, but of the speaker, and I want to give him a shout out. This budget also includes the back-to-school sales tax holiday that the Senate President, the Speaker, and I announced last week, in which will keep even more dollars in our families' pockets and bank accounts. And this budget invests over $1 billion in the safe and modern transportation infrastructure we will need to grow our economy and create jobs, with additional aid for the ongoing recovery of our small businesses and downtowns. I could continue to go on and on and on, detailing the many ways this budget will help our families meet this moment. from the investment of the hundreds of millions of dollars of funding from the Federal American Rescue Plan, meaningfully investing in our children's mental health, to the Affordable Housing Production Fund to build more affordable housing, to our efforts to rid homes of the dangers of lead-based water lines and lead paint, and so much more. But even as this budget invests in our year ahead and in the immediate affordability crisis that we face, it is also focused on ensuring that the New Jersey that we leave for our kids and grandkids is in better financial shape than it is now. And this is how we make New Jersey more affordable in the long term. I am proud that this budget will start with a surplus, which I will certify in a few moments, of $6.78 billion. By comparison, the last budget in the prior administration before we got here had a surplus of $410 million. Don't need to be a math major to know that $6.78 billion is many times $410 million. This not only ensures that we have the wherewithal to meet unexpected challenges in the year to come, and I think there will be many in our economy, but it is a clear sign to the rating agencies that we are serious about the years beyond that. In recent months, we have received the first two credit upgrades, as Lynn knows, for our state in decades, and this surplus will send a strong signal that we intend to fight for even more upgrades. We are making an additional back-to-back full payment into our state's pension system. Yeah. Gonna have to call security over here in a minute. This maintains our promise to our public workers that we will live up to our obligation to them. And we are setting aside more than $5 billion to pay down our debts and to take some of the weight off the shoulders of future generations. We are restoring New Jersey's long-term fiscal health. We are returning responsibility and responsiveness to our fiscal house. And we are governing as we said we would. And that's where I'd like to end my remarks, if I may. This is the first budget of our second term, but like the budgets of our first term, it seeks to make New Jersey an even better place for our families to call home. After all, our bumper sticker is the very best state in America to raise a family, right here in New Jersey. We want New Jersey to be a place where our middle-class families can breathe a little easier, making ends meet. A place where our kids can dream of finding their place and raising their families. A place where our seniors can live out their golden years in dignity. A place where the American dream is alive and well. In short, a state of opportunity. Our work is by no means done, and make no doubt about it, even tomorrow as the new fiscal year begins, the work on the next budget will begin as well. Many of the tasks we will take on in that budget to come will continue the work that we have set out in this budget, just as this budget, by the way, continues the work of the ones which came before it. And together with my extraordinary partners in the legislature, I know we will continue to deliver for the more than 9.3 million residents who call this great state home. I neglected to acknowledge one other very important person, and I'll pay a huge price if I do not acknowledge her, and that is the First Lady of the great state of New Jersey, Tammy Murphy. You have no idea the price I would have paid. With that, please help me welcome an extraordinary leader. It is his first budget as the Senate President, but he's a total pro. Please get it all up for Senate President Nick Scuteri.
Thank you. I'll just start with what I said yesterday on the Senate floor, and I want to get ahead of myself. I know it's my first budget, but this is potentially the single greatest budget in New Jersey history. Absolutely, no doubt. And New Jersey has been responsible stewards with what we've had to got given to us. And I think in no small part, it is because of the policies of the past 5 years that this legislature with this governor have put into place to make New Jersey's economy heating, and we're benefiting from that and other federal programs. Before I go on and just talk about the budget, Governor, great job in encapsulating all the things that it does, and there's way, way more. We could be up here a lot longer. I'm not known to give the longest speeches in the world, but I'm going to say a few extra words today. I just want to thank the governor and his staff for all their hard work, and my staff, you know who you are, all their hard work, and most importantly, the Speaker of the General Assembly, a decent man, integrity, responsiveness, decisiveness, all through this process, which is absolutely needed during the rush the last 2 weeks. Spoke to him every couple of hours. Speaker, thank you for all of your courtesies in this. Appreciate it. And my senior leadership team, led by Senator Teresa Ruiz, my majority leader. Thank you. Senator Paul Sarlo, the budget chair, has been doing that job many years. A really consolidated effort from the top, from the Senate, and working with the Assembly and the governor's office, just putting fires out for the last couple of weeks, but it all came together beautifully at the end. And let me just talk about it just for a minute, just to reiterate some of the points that the governor made. We've never seen this before, where we have been so responsible and responsive at the same time. A short-term, long-term solution to many, many of the things that are going on in New Jersey. We're starting to see the flowers that we planted 5 years ago, and that's why we're in a good place we're going to be. And I think starting tomorrow, you're going to see additional benefits from this budget moving forward that's going to continue to keep our economy running strong. And if it doesn't, we'll be ready for it, because this budget addresses all of those things. Record property tax relief. Record. Started with the governor, backed up by the Speaker, supported by the Senate. People across New Jersey will see significant sums of money to offset property tax relief programs. That's unheard of with the surplus that we're leaving, with the debt avoidance fund that we're leaving, and the capital investment that we're making throughout our communities, particularly right here in Cranford with flood mitigation controls. Very happy to be able to do that. Now, I don't represent Cranford yet. Looking forward to it next year. A little down payment. But I live right next door in Linden. Love this community, and I'm really looking forward to spending more time here. But the tax relief is unprecedented. Don't forget about it. The property tax relief is just the beginning. We've got other things in there that really are going to have some meaning. The back-to-school holidays is something we want to try and see if that helps to continue to spur the economy, sales, and some relief at the cash registers. A child tax credit, which I think everyone with a child that's within those means are going to be able to take advantage of. And something that Senator Sarlo, Senator Singleton, and myself, and Senator Ruiz has fought very, very hard for was the beginning to the end of the energy tax diversion, which gives monies right back to property tax relief as well. So those are just the beginning of all the property tax relief that's contained in this program, in this budget. So sure, that sounds like, anybody could say cut more, but that's a really amazing amount of money to give back to the taxpayers, giving it back, the extra money that we received from federal government, the money that we've received from the heated economy, giving it back in a responsible fashion, putting aside so much in surplus, so much in debt defeasance, and then investing in capital programs and human programs. And I'm most proud of the investment that the state is making in our mental health awareness campaign and our mental health. Before I became a lawyer, I have a master's degree in counseling psychology. Most people probably are like, what? And I didn't stay in the field, but we need more people to stay in that field. This is a field that is in dire need of assistance. We need to provide services. We need to provide beds on demand. We need to provide things that people need, because these are emergency situations. We finally got it out of the shadows where people can understand and come to grips with the fact that mental illness is a health illness. We've got to deal with it. And if we don't, a myriad of problems come up from it. Homelessness, unemployment, gun violence, just to say a few that probably in many instances are tied to mental illness and our failure to be able to come up with solutions to that. This budget makes the single biggest investment in our mental health in the history of New Jersey. All of these great things, including the things that people will say these are projects that we shouldn't be investing in. Talk to the people in Cranford when they got filleted out. talked to them about that, why we shouldn't have taken some of the monies that we've had to try to invest to save people's homes, lives, livelihoods from destruction. And this is an investment in that and many other programs across the state. Outstanding stuff. That was a lot of work. Speaker, governor's office, interacting with that, but a really significant investment in capital programs, things that won't be on and on and on, things that we can spend and fix, things that need to be done, they're overdone. Let's talk about the schools. We're going to invest more money in schools than I've ever seen, and we need them. Schools need investment. We've got excellent public schools. I went to Linden High School right across Raritan, and it's just been great to me and many in this room. We've got to continue to invest in that, and I know with Senator Ruiz's leadership on education issues, she'll make sure that they do the right thing. But we're putting our money where our mouth is. So this budget touches on, I don't know what it doesn't touch on, quite frankly. I do not. Responsible tax cuts, responsible spending, responsible, amazing surpluses, investment in the pension system, debt avoidance going forward, and just a myriad of other things. And everything was discussed. Day in and day out, the leaders on my side and speakers and the governor's office poured through this information for weeks on end. And that's why it took a while, because there's so much going on here. But I am very, very proud of this budget. I'm very, very proud of the relationship that we forged with all the members here, the integrity that everyone showed in the process. It was very, very meaningful to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for letting me be a part of the day. Thank you.
Nick, thank you, period, but thank you for underscoring the mental health aspects of this budget, which we need, God knows, coming out of this pandemic, we need more than we've ever needed before. And your point about coming out from in the shadows. I did not realize the psychology degree, which explains how you're such a good negotiator, two of them. So I'll file that away for next year. Congratulations again, and thank you. You've also said something brilliantly. We've done three things at the same time that they said could not be done. Deliver historic relief on affordability, invest aggressively in the future, and be fiscally responsible. Those three in this state have not always gone together. So, as I said, it takes a village, it takes both chambers, and we have an extraordinary leader as well in the other chamber. Please help me welcome the Speaker of the General Assembly, Craig Coughlin.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor, for hosting. Thanks for letting us come to your beautiful, charming town. It's a pleasure to be with you today and to be with all of you today. I guess the budget did really well because look at all the people who are here and benefited from it, right? And I thank my colleague, Brittany Timberlake, for who's being here, and we'll get to the other members of the team who made this possible. You know, today, as the governor and the Senate President have outlined, we signed a budget that delivered on promises to working middle-class New Jerseyans. And the truth of the matter is that if we were to count all of the people who benefited from this budget, there would be 9.3 million people in this room, because that's what this budget was really about. I'm also, I almost missed it. I am shamelessly a proud father, and I am fortunate to have with me here today my son, Craig, who happens to be working right now, actually, and so he's happy. I'm delighted he's here and getting paid to be with me. So, thank you for that. You know, more than a month ago, we talked about having a historic tax relief, and yesterday it came to fruition. Over $2 billion in tax relief. And let's think for a second about what that really means and who that really helps, right? That helps the mother who has lost her husband and is now living on one income and struggling to care for her children, pay the bills, and keep the roof over her head. It's helping the couple who retired a few years ago and thought that they were going to have enough, and now they have to live on a fixed income, and they're faced by the challenge of inflation and taking a hit to just where they need just that little extra bit. It's the help for the young professional who's just getting started and paying back her school loans, her student loans, at the same time paying rent, and one day hoping to save enough to buy her own house. It's that family who has 3 generations living under the same roof, who have too many hungry mouths to feed and have to struggle with worrying about that each and every day, let alone trying to figure out how to pay for college or get a car fixed or do something else for the house. That's the reason that New Jersey is both there's a reason, I should say, that New Jersey is both the best state to raise a family in and one of the fastest growing economies in the country. It's not by accident. It's because of great leadership by Governor Murphy, give him a big round of applause. By Senate President Scutari, and it's because we all know, that economic health starts when we prioritize the social and fiscal health of our families. That's where it all begins. Using the billions of dollars that we have from the American Rescue Plan, that the budget also does transformative things that we've talked about, that the budget that was demanded of the use of that money, that it be transformative, that a decade from now we can look back and say, this is what we did. One-time investments to change the state's trajectory, and we do that in this budget. Right? We improve the lifespan of our roads, our transportation infrastructure, the quality of, give that a big round of applause, because all of these things matter. The quality of our drinking water, making sure that we're better prepared when the next Ida comes along. Investing in those kind of things that will have benefits for not just people here in New Jersey today, but for New Jerseyans in the future. We delivered on expanding care in our hospitals and making sure that they're better, creating jobs, paying good paying jobs like union jobs, and helping men and women return to full pay. Let's hear it for the folks from labor. We do too. These are the kind of investments that are going to make us better, not today, but for tomorrow and in the time to come. And still, on top of it, we're maintaining more than a $10 billion plus surplus. The governor mentioned that the last administration, when it ended, was less than $500 million. We actually passed budgets with $300 million. Think about that. There are people in this room who put in budget asks for more than $300 million. And it is about tomorrow, right? This is not a gimmick. We put the anchor program in the budget, and we make sure that tax relief is going to be there by delivering down today and helping folks for tomorrow. That's all at the top of the budget. And on top of that, think about what else we did. No new taxes, no new fees, record investment in K through 12 school aid, funding pensions, as the governor mentioned, and our retirement security for public service, keeping our promise to those people who work so hard, helping families trying to make ends meet, coming to the aid of our small businesses. We've done that. We started during the pandemic with over $1 billion of commitment. We continue it in this budget because we recognize how important small business is, the backbone of our economy, right? Most of the people work there. And I see Linda Carter has joined me. I apologize for missing my colleague from the 22nd District. Soon to represent Cranford. Strategically paying down debt to save people. We defeased over $2.5 billion. We've saved New Jerseyans over $600 million in debt defeasance, and we're going to do more in this budget. We've also made sure that we made the largest direct investment in our school's history for construction. Senator Ruiz is at the top of that. $1.9 billion for constructions in both SDA districts, and we call them, and ROD, regular operating district, and SDA districts. So because we know that people are going to school now in classrooms that are cold in the winter and hot at the end of the season, and that's not how we learn best. That's not how students succeed. Too many school buildings, outdated, or simply inadequate for a 21st century education. Many of our schools are bursting at the seams, leaving a lingering question of equity, and we've started to work to try to repair that in this budget the governor's about to sign. In a state with the nation's best public education system, and I think we should say that time and time and time again, because it is. We invest heavily in education, and it pays a dividend, right? We have the best public education system year in and year out. And the fact that there are under-resourced classrooms and unsafe schools is something that we can't accept, and we need to change, and we start that today. Every child's education matters. And the quality of that education begins with the safety and the quality of the facilities that they go to every day, Monday through Friday, and where they learn and grow in individuals. That makes the $1.9 billion more than an investment in buildings. It makes it an investment in our future and the future of our students. But the educational journey doesn't always end for everyone at K through 12. It goes on into higher ed. And that's, for many, that's the next step. Working hard to keep our students in state. We have a great public education system. Let's keep them all here if we can. and to expand the reputation and offerings of our schools. This budget also makes higher investments in higher education. And I want to thank President Rapolette from Kane University, who's here with us today, who's doing just a killer job, just an absolute killer job. We're increasing our base operating aid to counties and four-year colleges and universities to keep their tuition costs under control. We're supporting faculty jobs with some of our new college financing to make who are facing financial hardships. We're investing tens of millions in dollars in improved academic and extracurricular facilities. And maybe this is why you're here. Included in this budget with the leadership of Senator Scutari is a new science building right down the street for Kane. So I guess she's here to pick up the check. It's in cash. Always bad for politicians, Governor. In short, I'm exceptionally proud of this budget. I share the excitement and the pride that the governor and the Senate president have in this budget. It is really as good a budget as you can have. It addresses all of the needs of the people of New Jersey. It gets to the very essence of the kitchen table realities that impact folks day to day. People out there are struggling, and we heard that, and we know that, and we feel it. And we're making investments that continue our work towards housing and food security, small business resilience, affordable child care, and access to mental health care, and so much more. This budget makes a difference for our children and for our families, for workers, for seniors, for the communities left vulnerable by the pandemic, and for the strain that's been put on their wallet by inflation. It speaks to the heart of what New Jersey needs are. And I thank all of the members of the Assembly and the Senate Budget Committees who worked on it and who worked so hard to put this all together. I want to especially thank and congratulate Senator Sarlo, the chair of the Budget Committee, Majority Leader Teresa Ruiz, who was there every step of the way, the exceptional, incredible team that I get to work with, led by an extraordinary budget chair, Ileana Pinto-Marin. Let's hear it for her. But for Seth Hahn and Dan Harris and Patrick Brennan, who are in the back of the room, who I ate more pizza with. I used to think that I could eat pizza every day. And having eaten pizza for about 7 days in a row before yesterday, I think I may have been wrong. But they were there countless hours, and so too with the Senate. And I want to thank especially Senator Scutari, who's been a friend for what is measured in decades, who is an extraordinary leader, who handled his first budget with great skill and agility, and have helped make this happen. Senator, thank you. It's a privilege to work with you. And of course, our tremendous governor, Governor Murphy, who has been an extraordinary leader. You know, it's not just good fortune that we have, the money that we have. It's a process. It's a part of its policies. It's doing the right thing, and sometimes the hard thing over the course of time that has led us to this place. It's that reason that our economy is so well, and Governor Murphy deserves great credit for that. Governor, thank you very much. Our strong and fiscal responsible budget achieves a great deal for communities throughout the state, and it lifts up the people who need our help most. But more than line items, this budget is an expression of and a reflection of our values, and what it says is that we put people first, and we did in this budget. It's a privilege to be with you all today. Thank you very much.
Craig, really, really well said, and great leadership by you and Nick. I don't know where we'd be without you guys. So, as well as to your teams, and they deserve the shout out that you each have given them. And I want to give our Chief of Staff, George Helmy, and Chief Counsel Parimal Gargar a shout out as well. George, Dr. No Helmy. Thank you, guys, and thank you, Craig, for great remarks. We have a couple more speakers, so bear with us because they're all really important. She herself is a former legislator, which I think adds a dimension to her role as our state's treasurer that is unique, and it has helped guide her over the past 4.5 years, and she's another exceptional leader. Please help me welcome Treasurer Liz Moyo.
Thank you, everybody. the previous speakers, Governor, Senate President, and Speaker have already understandably spoken in detail about some of the great investments in this budget, transformative investments, really. So I'm going to direct my remarks to the elements of the budget that resonate strongly from Treasury's perspective. And before I do that, I want to take a minute to thank the budget chairs, two people we work intimately with for many months, and Chairs Sarlo and Chair Pinter-Marin. Having served on the Budget Committee, I know what a challenge and a time commitment it is, and our team and the teams of all of our departments have cycled through for months through your committees, and the process has been respectful and professional, and I just want to thank you all for being such great partners in, from Treasury's perspective, putting this budget together. So thank you. And also, budget signing day is a big day for everybody, but in Treasury, the budget is a 365-day-a-year endeavor. So I want to thank all of our staff in my office and across our divisions who really put in countless hours making sure we get it right. And I know I'm joined here today by our head of Office of Management and Budget, Lynn Azarki, whose team has been incredible, and Deputy Treasurer Aaron Binder, who is new to Treasury this year. My Chief of Staff, Joanne Povia, and Chief of Communications, Jen Shortino, are also here today, so I'd like to thank them and the whole Treasury team. Since the governor's first days in office, fiscal responsibility has been a guiding principle, and this year was no different. The governor's proposed budget in March focused on tax relief, investing in our future, and continuing our efforts to tackle our debt and build a surplus that will better protect the state in tough times. The budget that the governor will sign today builds upon that template in an even more robust way, thanks to the increase in revenues that we all saw this spring. And this, as you've heard, is going to enable us to deliver incredible investments across the state. A record amount of tax relief. In fact, total property tax relief in this budget, in the FY23 budget, is roughly $24 billion, roughly half of this year's appropriation. We have a record amount, as you've heard, in school funding, a record surplus of over 13% compared to the surplus, as you've heard, that we were handed when we arrived of just over 1%, and over $5 billion in debt defeasance and prevention, which will bring our cumulative total to nearly $9 billion, saving the state over this past fiscal year, the state and taxpayers. These investments will save them billions in interest payments in the future. So almost 5 years ago this fall, I got a call from Governor-elect Murphy, who asked me to consider being his treasurer. And he'll be the first to tell you, I hesitated because I loved serving in the legislature. And I loved serving the people of my district. And so we had an honest discussion. And he said to me, Liz, we need to fix the fiscal ship of the state. And I thought about it, and I said, you know, if we don't, he's right, if we don't do that, none of the rest of this is possible. The investments that we're able to make in all the programs that mean so much to so many of us sitting here in this room. So, you know, as the governor said, this is a work in progress, and he would also say he's not ready yet to spike any footballs. But who would have thought, considering the fiscal situation that we were handed 4.5 years ago, that a few years and an international health pandemic later, we would be looking at a record surplus, a second full pension payment, record tax relief, and investments in both our infrastructure, management of our state debt, and 2 credit rating upgrades. I mean, so I just want to thank the legislative leadership for being such great partners. I have so much respect for all of you, and I want to thank the governor for the vision you laid out 4.5 years ago and your commitment to getting our fiscal house in order. So thank you.
just said to Liz, I remember that conversation very well. I think she probably was asking herself, why me? But you've done an extraordinary job, and Lynn is here, as you mentioned, Aaron, and the rest of the team, so hats off to you. I confirmed with Kathleen that this, in fact, is a library. So we have 2 more speakers, but it's a good day, so I'm going to tell a joke. This is from our son, Charlie Murphy. Guy walks into a library and says to the librarian, I'd like a quarter pounder with cheese, medium fries, and a large Coca-Cola. And the librarian says, young man, this is a library. And the kid responds, oh, sorry, I'd like a quarter pounder with cheese. Kathleen, thank you for confirming to me that this, in fact, is a library to allow me to tell that joke. Okay, just making sure you're all paying attention. 2 other extraordinary leaders we have to hear from, and Liz already gave an homage to each of them, and her homage is, as mine is heartfelt, but she actually lived it as a member of the Budget Committee. First up, I don't know where, 20 budgets, Paul? 20 or 21 budgets? The chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, please help me welcome Senator Paul Sarlo.
Thank you, Governor, and I also want to, without being repetitive, I want to thank the Governor, the Speaker of the Assembly, and the Senate President for their efforts here in leading all of us to get to this day here today. And I want to give a special thanks to our Senate President. Majority Leader and I spent a lot of time over the last, more time than I've ever spent with you, Senator Ruiz, and we spoke often. We spent a lot of time together, and I want to thank, on behalf of all the members of our caucus, thank you to Senate President for your inclusivity with all the members of our caucus. It meant a lot to every member from the northern end of the state to the southern end of the state, so thank you for your leadership on that, sir. Staying with the library, I'm here in front of the cookbooks here, and I'm sure there's some really good Italian recipes here in Cranford. But this is my 20th on the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee, 13th year chair. And there is no set recipe on how to deliver a budget, especially a negotiated budget. And I've seen some really good ones. I've seen some really difficult ones. And this negotiated budget takes a lot of great input and a lot of work over many, many months. Thank you to you, Treasurer. You are so upfront and transparent with us throughout the process. Sometimes I put you on the spot, and you provide more information than you're probably supposed to provide to me, and I really appreciate that. But you provide, you're very transparent in giving us the information we need to make the difficult decisions. But going back to the recipe mode here, I think a lot of us had different ingredients that we really wanted to see. There's the affordability piece, which you've heard so much here today. There's the investment in infrastructure and in schools and in lead services and Cranford flooding issues all throughout the town. By the way, those, I'm still the mayor, those are property tax relief measures as well. If you don't provide that to Cranford, they have to raise their property taxes. If you don't invest in schools, they got to raise their property taxes. If you don't take care of that intersection, you have to raise your property taxes. So for those out there who want to criticize those are investments and those are property taxes relief. And then the third piece is the fiscal prudence. I said from the beginning at the first hearing, we need to be upwards of $6 billion surplus. And today, as the governor announced, we're not just $6 billion, we're $6.7 billion in surplus. And when you add the debt defeasance and debt avoidance, it puts us now, if my math is correct, somewhere around $10.7 billion of combined surplus, debt defeasance, debt avoidance fund. That allows us to cushion ourselves if a recession was to come to fruition. But it also allows us now to spend the time over the summer and the coming months to get together and continue to look at strategic, transformational investments that this state needs. Including more schools, investment in more schools, higher education, lead service, infrastructure, and mass transportation. So all of us came to the table with different ingredients to the recipe, and today we delivered a great meal for the people of New Jersey. God bless. Thank you all.
was awesome, Paul. Thank you, man. And you said something I was going to say about you. Just as Liz has an added dimension as a former legislator, Paul, you have that added dimension. Is not just a private sector senior executive and a senator and a chair, but also a mayor of Woodbridge, New Jersey, up in Bergen County. So thank you. Last but not least, I'm going to say this. I'm going to go out on a limb, Eliana. No legislator is more happy that New Jersey will host the World Cup in 2026 than Ileana Pinto-Marin. Please help me welcome the extraordinary chair of the Assembly Budget Committee, Ileana Pinto-Marin.
You are right, Governor. Being Portuguese and loving soccer just kind of goes hand in hand. Well, now that everyone spoke, I should just say ditto and walk away. This is not my 20th budget. This is my 5th. But it was actually the one that I enjoyed the most. And I enjoyed the most because I think every year, just like anything else, you become more comfortable. So Governor Murphy, I want to thank you for your leadership. Senator Scutari, Senate President Scutari, it was a pleasure working with you. It was our first time, so I really enjoyed it. I had the opportunity to, at this time, at a different level, work with Senator Majority Leader Ruiz. Everybody knows how much we love each other, so I appreciate that. Paul, it's always a pleasure. We always have a good time. We keep it real with each other. There's no competition. It's about camaraderie, so I appreciate that. Obviously, one of the most important people who obviously has given me a lot of trust in this is, Craig Coughlin, the Speaker. I'm truly honored to continue to be a part of the team, and I'm truly honored that you continue to bring me to the table, so thank you. Liz, you were part of us at one point. You sat with budget. You were the only other female besides myself that sat in budget, and we've increased those numbers, and it's great. But it was awesome having you, and now seeing you as treasurer, and the same thing. I think we're both in the same place. Year to year, we get more comfortable. We feel more comfortable. We understand everything a little bit better. So I appreciate that. Still a little bit upset with you. You took, my budget staff with you. So to your deputy treasurer, Aaron Binder, I hope you didn't tell her all of my secrets. Shared all the information, but I appreciate it. I think everyone here spoke about the great things that are in this budget. And when Speaker and I had a conversation yesterday about, talking to the caucus and things that we were going to focus on, is obviously we wanted to focus on all the great things that are in here. Everyone's talked about them: infrastructure, school funding, making sure that our hospitals are funded, mental health, hunger, which is so important to a lot of us, and depending on what districts we are, childcare. But I think one of the things, and Liz, you really honed in on it, and so did Paul, because we kind of have to focus on that when we're crafting the budget, is when you take a look at how much we were able to do, but still be able to save for a rainy day. I think that was probably one of the most important things. I'm first generation Portuguese American. My dad always told me, you got to save for tomorrow, Liliana, because you never know what it brings. And I think that this is something that we're all very proud of. We're proud of that we don't know what tomorrow brings. We know that we possibly might be in a not so great situation next year. And I think the above $6 billion in surplus, over $4 billion in debt defeasance, and over $1 billion still in ARP money to make additional infrastructure needs if we need to. And there's one thing, when you talk about debt defeasance, sometimes people have a hard time understanding what that is. But that means that the projects that were in this budget, that means that they're already funded. We don't have to go out. We don't have to borrow. We don't have to pay more interest. And I think that that's something that's so important, because year to year, we sometimes struggle with, can we afford to do this project, and how much is it going to cost the state of New Jersey and taxpayers in the long run? And that's what's so great about this budget, at least for myself, and I think for a lot of my colleagues. So to everyone here today, it was a pleasure working with all of you. I look forward to it being a little easier every year. But there's one thing that I do have to say. I love all of you. I really don't want to see you for the next couple of weeks or talk to you. But all kidding aside, it really is about the relationship that we all have, and it's a reason why we were able to do what we did in a short amount of time. So congratulations to everyone.
Ileana, well done. Thank you for that. As they say in Hollywood, it's a wrap. I want to thank the Senate President, the Speaker. Kathleen, thank you for hosting us, to the Union County and Cranford representatives, to the members of both the Senate and the Assembly, to all the activists, union leaders, concerned citizens with us today. Janine LaRue, happy birthday. I will sign with one pen. My team reminds me this is the one thing every year that I sign that I get to keep the pen. I'm going to sign two documents. One is to certify the revenues, and the second is to sign the budget. Thank you all